Hey, everybody, welcome to Hangin' Sangin'. Now that you can hear me, I'm Kelly McCartney from the Bluegrass Situation. With me today at Hillbilly Central, John Oates, the one and only.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So glad to have you. Your new record, Arkansas,
Yes.
out February 2nd,
Yes.
which is
Coming up.
2 weeks.
Coming up soon.
Right on.
Yeah, we have a lead track that's out. The actual title track, Arkansas, is out right now.
Right.
With a video, and really excited about the record. I'm just getting a lot of good feedback so far, and I'm very proud of it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that you describe it as Dixieland dipped in bluegrass and salted with Delta blues.
Well, I was forced to come up with a description.
something,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, one thing about the record is obvious. We can get into it if you like, but there's an incredible group of musicians playing on this record.
Absolutely.
Sam Bush, Russ Paul, Guthrie Trapp, Josh Day, Steve Mackey, and Nat Smith.
Yeah.
And I assembled this group of musicians, and I knew them all. They're all buddies, and we've played together in various configurations. But I didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And when they started to play, and everything is live pretty much on this record, it reminded me of Dixieland, where all these great players are just these interweaving musical ideas, and no one is stepping on anyone, but yet it's all complementary, but it's all like beautiful chaos, I guess
Right.
you'd call it. And that's why I said it reminded me of Dixieland in a way. It's kind of like bluegrass, Americana, Dixieland.
Right.
Yeah. With Delta Blues.
Yeah.
Right.
Did that collection of players, because I know you did assemble them, sort of handpicked each one, right?
Yeah.
So did it, the whole, did it surpass your dreams of what you thought it could be?
Absolutely, because I had no idea what it was going to be. Actually, the record started out as a tribute to Mississippi John Hurt.
Right.
And I was going to do a traditional guitar and vocal thing and just play his songs because, he's a big hero of mine and I know so many of his songs. After I cut a few tracks, and it was like, okay, yeah, this is all right, but it's been done before, and I'll never do it better than the original. And then, but I love the music, and I love the songs themselves, and I thought, well, I've never heard these songs played with a band, because they're so associated with that classic, guitar and vocal, presentation. So I just, one night, I just said, let me just pull all these guys together. And honestly, I wish I could say, it was this, concept that I had and it was my, master plan, but it wasn't. It was just dumb luck and a beautiful thing, because once the first track we cut, my engineer turned to me. He said, "I don't know what this is, but it's cool." Yeah. And I said, "Yeah, this is good. Let's just keep doing this."
Yeah.
And that's how it happened. So it was totally organic, and it just evolved from the players.
Yeah, that's the best way.
Yeah.
What do you see as sort of both the differences and the intersections between those various styles that you love of music, and how you're able to weave them together into this hybrid thing?
Well, I have eclectic tastes. I'm always attracted to great songs. I don't care what the style is. Okay. I love jazz. I love swing. I love rock and roll. I love R&B. You can put any label you want on it, but the bottom line is it's all about great songs, and I kind of see through the clothes of that you put on a great song, and I just look at what the soul of it itself, the essence of it, and these songs are great songs, and as I as I said, the album really had this kind of tribute to Mississippi John Hurt approach initially, but as we got into it, I said, well, wait a minute, what were the other songs that were being played during this late 1920s, early 1930s period where Mississippi John Hurt recorded for the first time? And so I started looking at contemporary songs, and I started to realize that these songs they really almost provided the foundation for what became American popular music.
Right.
Because these songs also coincided with the invention of the phonograph and the record. So you now have this kind of little snapshot in a way. I think what we've created was a snapshot of early American popular music.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, you mentioned Mississippi John Hurt, but I know Doc Watson is in there for you as an early influence.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, do you think it was more common 30, 40 years ago for a guy influenced with those influences to end up on the pop charts and in this crazy successful duo than it would be today?
Oh, that's hard to say.
Or do you think, have the influences sort of been watered down enough that in a different way.
I think the influence is the real traditional roots of music of America has been absorbed and transformed and co-opted, however you really want to say it, by the big tree of rock and roll.
Yeah.
You know, one way or the other, and you know, and its subcategories like Americana or
Yeah.
whatever it might be. You know, things like real traditional bluegrass has maintained its integrity. I think. I think it's. But here again, you know, you have people who've taken the bluegrass idiom and just expanded upon it. And you know, people like what Sam Bush did with Newgrass, and
Right.
you know what Chris Thiele does with with his amazing
Everything.
playing. Right. So. I think the forms, in their most traditional and original way, are still there, and I think with the record I made, I think we started out with those original
Yeah,
forms.
you went back to the source.
We went back to the source, but then here again, the input from these musicians
Yeah.
took it to another place.
Right.
Well, while hopefully, preserving the essence of it.
Yeah. Yeah. How have you've had a number of solo records over the past couple of decades. How did you originally sort of set about finding your voice as a solo artist? And do you feel like you have? Do you feel like it's still shifting? Do you feel like it'll ever be one thing? Or?
Well, I hope it always shifts
Yeah.
in the positive way, but I think this album is really the closest that I've
Yeah.
ever come to it. I made an album in 2010 called Mississippi Mile, and which I made with Mike Henderson from the Steel Drivers, and I think that album pointed the way to this album.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Just listening back through everything yesterday, I would say
Right.
that Arkansas does feel like the most like it just you feel so comfortable in
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you. It's just one of those things where these are the songs. I mean, you have to remember, I've been playing these songs for 50 years, 60 years. So if I can't play them now, then there's a problem. But here again, having and what I did was I went in the studio with the guys, and I sat in the room, in the control room, and played the song in the most traditional way that I could, that I could remember. And then they took that as that was the starting point, and then they just expanded on it, and that was really cool. So in the end, if you were to strip away all the other players on this record, I'm playing these songs in a very traditional way.
Yeah.
If you heard just my track, for instance, it would sound pretty much like the original. But here again, the way they just embellished and surrounded what I was doing really turned it into something unique.
Yeah. Tell me about some of the songs on the record. You've got Jimmy Rogers, you have Emmett Miller, some other folks on there, some of your stuff. What's the key to sort of crafting a new song that fits within that comfortably?
Well, I mean, I didn't know I was going to have an original song on the record. I took a visit to a place called Wilson, Arkansas, which is about 30 miles northwest of Memphis, and just on the other side of the Mississippi River. At one time, one of the biggest cotton plantations in America, and did a show there. And it's this cool little town that's being reimagined or reinvented, I guess, as a arts community. It's really cool. And the night after the show, I went outside, and the cotton fields were just rolling off in the distance. There was the river, and it was very evocative, and it just seemed to crystallize this musical journey that starts I guess in New Orleans really, and just goes up the Mississippi River through the Delta, and by the time it gets to Arkansas, I think it's kind of the last rural stop on the musical journey northward, because after Arkansas you've got St. Louis and Chicago, and that if you know anything about the music that came from St. Louis and Chicago, it was that traditional American roots music that became urbanized and a little more sophisticated, and eventually led to rock and roll. So this whole thing about being in Arkansas at that moment on the river it moved me, and I went back to home to Nashville and wrote the song Arkansas right after that. And then there was one more original, which near the end of the project, I was sitting at home one night and really kind of grooving on the fact that this thing was coming along so well. And I said, but why am I really doing it? And I said, well, I guess I'm just digging back deep into where I come from.
Yeah.
And that became Dig Back Deep, which is kind of a unique song, too, because I used some of the lyrics from Mississippi John Hurt's Sliding Delta as the kind of a part of the verse of that song, and then wrote an original chorus and combined it into a totally new song. So I think that song here again embodies what was happening on this record. You know, the essence of the originality and the essence of that music, then taken to a slightly different level while hopefully keeping, preserving the authenticity of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Whew.
Nicely done.
Wow. And my ears are still ringing.
Yeah, right. Um, it's so fun to see artists. You're very far into your career. You've had massive success, and then as a solo artist, you kind of have to start not quite from scratch, but almost from scratch. But you're still just super excited about exploring and experiencing, aren't you?
I am. I think it's the best time of my life. It really is. For a lot of reasons. I mean, I love the music I'm making. I love the friends I've made here in Nashville and the community that I'm part of. But even more so that I have this incredible career with Daryl Hall and the legacy of music that we made together, that provides the foundation and the ability for me to have total creative freedom, which a lot of artists, that's what they dream of. I think if you asked any artist what would be your ultimate dream, it would be that. Yeah. And I have it, and so because I have it, I want to make the most of it. I want to milk every second out of that experience.
Yeah, yeah, and it's great because you are a part of the Americana community here. You're not everyone with your history would slide so comfortably into that.
I wasn't sure if it was going to work way back when I met Jed Hilley back in 2007, I think it was, and we discussed it in the Americana, a music association was just kind of getting cranked up, and I said, I could do this. This could be, and I'm sure some people, looked at me kind of sideways and like, what's this guy doing? Yeah. But in Nashville, it's one of those things. Your name can kind of get you in the door, but if you want to stay at the party, you got to be able to deliver.
That's right.
So
no, but you've got musically, clearly you have the chops, but also your temperament, and I always tell people Americana, like, we don't do divas here. Yeah. We don't really have. Well, John Prine is our rock star. Loretta Lynn, it's
right.
like that's the.
That appeals to me as well. So it's very much in keeping with where I'm coming from.
Sure. What's your hope for this record?
I just hope people finally understand who I really am as a musician, because I think this record defines me. Yeah. I think in a way, all the work that I did with Daryl, it was, my personality was absorbed in the collaboration, the partnership, and the direction that we eventually went in. And that direction, I won't say I was against it, because I wasn't. I was totally, on board with going in this pop direction. I was swept up in living in New York City, the zeitgeist of the 80s, what was happening, and it was exciting. And I kind of put this, the roots and my earliest influence, I really put them aside, because what I was doing was I was learning something else. I was learning a much more sophisticated R&B production techniques. Right. I mean, we were doing things in the recording studio that were groundbreaking in the 80s, with the transition from analog to digital recording. So for me, it was that whole time was a learning experience. But in a way now, I feel like I look back and it was almost like I was a different person. And I can still do it, and I still put on the Hall & Oates hat. And I go out there and do those songs, and I'm still proud of those songs. But right now, it's not. It doesn't feel as engaging as what I'm doing now.
Yeah, and yet it's still, you guys aren't a novelty act. Like, when you do it, it's still like, because like you said at the top, it's like the songs were always there.
Well,
so
Daryl and I have always, that's one thing about us, is that we always bring it, and we're proud to play the history and the legacy of the music we made together. Yeah. And so we don't take it as it's not a joke to us. Right. If it ever were to become that way, we wouldn't do it, I'm sure. Yeah. We have a great band. We're still on tour. We're going to go on tour on this giant marina tour starting in May, which will be announced very shortly. So it's kind of like visiting a great museum.
From the Station Inn to Bridgestone Arena.
Hey,
you do it all.
You know what it's like visiting a great museum. It's really cool when you're there and you walk around for a few hours and you see all this stuff and you're going, wow, that's cool. And then, but do you really want to like have a bed in the museum?
Yeah.
Nah. So.
Well, how about do a song for us there?
All right. Well, I'll do a song that I recorded. Actually, the only song on the album that was left over from the original Mississippi John Hurt tribute sessions.
All right.
Where I just played by myself. Okay. And this is a song that, too, I think it crosses a lot of a gap. It kind of fills in a gap because Mississippi John Hurt recorded this, and it's called Spike Driver Blues. And a few years later, Doc Watson and Merle Watson recorded and played it. In fact, it was one of the tunes that Merle Watson kind of had a little showcase number on. Nice. And he played it very faithfully to the Mississippi John style. So I'll kind of
Let's see what you got.
I got a cross between the two.
All right.
Driving man, his name was John Henry. Oh, he went down. He went down. Oh, he went down. Go on and take this hammer to my captain. Oh, won't you tell him I'm gone? Tell him I'm gone. Oh, tell him I'm gone. It's a long, long way from East Colorado, honey, to my home, to my home. That's where I'm gone, that's where I'm gone. Carried down a hammer that killed John Henry, but it won't kill me, won't kill me, oh, won't kill me.
John Oates, Steel Driver Blues, off the new album Arkansas. Awesome.
Thank you.
It's so fun to sit next to masters of their crafts.
Oh, well,
I like my job a lot.
I'm just playing
I'm
the
just
way
a
I
little
learned
guitar
it. Playing the
player.
way I learned. No, I'm not trying to be modest. I'm just that's man, it's something I've been playing that song for a long time.
Yeah.
So I hope I can play it at this point.
Yeah, nice. Well, we are now at the enlightening round. I'm going
the
to
enlightening.
Enlightening. It's not fast.
Okay, good. Because I'm slow. So
okay.
Good.
I'm going to list guitar players or players that I know you love, and you just tell me your favorite takeaway thing that you've gotten
Oh,
from
yeah.
them.
Interesting. All right.
Let's start with Doc Watson.
The be all and end all of finger picking, that rural Appalachian finger picking style. He defined it. His flat picking was the way he translated mandolin and fiddle tunes to flat picking guitar, changed the entire approach to bluegrass guitar playing. Bluegrass guitar was a secondary instrument before him, and it became more of a lead instrument after him. So can't say enough about Doc Watson.
Nice. Son House.
Son House. Well, Son House was, I think, a very, very big, big part of the Delta sound. I think his sound was raw and rough, I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know what else to say about him. He's one of the seminal players of that style.
Yeah, Jerry Douglas.
Oh boy, Jerry Douglas. Okay, yeah, there's a few people out there that transcend their instrument, and I don't know if he's actually transcended it, because I think he's basically defined it in so many ways. He's an incredible melodist. His melodic sense is ridiculous. It's so good and so unique, and his rhythm, and he's very funky. He's got it all. He's one of my instrumental heroes, without doubt.
Nice. Mississippi John Hurt.
Very unique way of playing the guitar. No one else plays guitar like Mississippi John Hurt. I think it's a mistake to lump him into the Delta blues category, because quite honestly, he represents a very unique, a niche style. He was a Piedmont hill country Mississippi player, and I think his style. I put his style in much more in alignment with ragtime players.
Okay. Reverend Gary Davis.
Oh, I thought he was wild. I like his kind of primitiveness. He lived in, he moved to Long Island, or I think he lived in Long Island or Queens, and I saw him play many times in New York City in folk clubs, and he had this kind of really unique primitive style where it had nothing to do with symmetry and bars and meter. He would just stop. He would stop. He would start, stop. He would drop beats in a very cool way. I've always tried to play some of his songs, and I could never do it in that rough kind of way that he did.
Interesting. Last one's your buddy Vince Gill.
Oh, jeez, another great one. Vince Gill is he's got it all. He is one of the great singers, one of the great guitar players. He's a producer, he's a writer, he does it all. Real quick anecdote about Vince Gill. I reached out to him to write a song with him. And we wrote a song together, and we recorded it together in his house. And he wanted other guitar players to play. I played kind of the main rhythm part. We had Tom Bukovac, and we had Colin Linden playing slide.
Yeah.
And at the end of the session, I went, Vince, no one plays solo. I said, why don't you play solo? And the song's kind of a rough, like a tough kind of blues. And I think a lot of people don't maybe associate Vince with that.
Right.
He pulled out his guitar and in one take played the meanest, dirtiest blues. And it was just like, okay, yeah, I can do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah. Well, we love Vince. Okay, second song.
Oh boy. I'm gonna play a song. I was gonna play the title track, Arkansas, and I'm gonna play it in a different key because I don't think I can sing it in the original key today because I'm a little bit under the weather. Here we go. There's a faded glow along the great river road in a worn down farmhouse hanging on a broke down porch looking over miles in miles in miles. Walk along the levee silhouetted by a crescent moon. When the sun starts rising, getting 94, the clock strikes noon. Don't you know the days and nights, dreams drift slowly by. Another delta dawn brings hope worth waiting on. Where that old man river flow past the snow-white cotton fields of Arkansas, yeah. There's a long black train running on the southbound track. Hear that distant whistle blowing when it calls you back to that hard-hit heartland long mud shore. Where that old man river flows past the snow-white cotton fields of Arkansas, hey. Oh, yes, it's hope worth waiting for. Another delta dawn. Folks round here been a hoping for. Where that old man river flows past the snow-white cotton fields of Arkansas, yeah. Watch that old man river flow. Watch it, old man river flow past the snow-white cotton fields of Arkansas. Watch it, old man river flow. Arkansas. Yeah, yeah. Watch it, old man river flow. There's snow white cotton fields of Arkansas. Oh, oh, watch it, old man river flow. There's snow white cotton fields of Arkansas.
John Oates with the title track off his new album Arkansas, out February 2nd. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for asking good questions.
Hey,
Making a nice afternoon out of it.
hey, awesome. And I hope you feel better
I'm working on it.
because you got a lot to do.
I've got the full power of the medical industry behind me here.
Yes, excellent, and a nice ringing in your ears.
That's right.
Yeah. Let's see. Next week we have Larkin Poe, and February 2nd.
I like them.
Yeah.
I just found them on YouTube. They're really cool.
Yeah, they are really cool. We're excited. Then February 2nd, we got Bela Fleck and Abigail Washburn.
Gee, well, that's too bad, huh?
I know.
What, you can't find any good talent?
I know. It's rough in Nashville.
Wow.
And then February 9th, we're going slumming with Bobby Bear.
Oh, boy.
I know.
That sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
All right.
It's hard work being me, John.
No, it's not. I like
No,
it.
it's really not. It's
Good.
not. I love my job. Until then, over and out from Hillbilly Central.